Okay, so we have Mario Cipollini here. This recording it is. Mario Cipollini, convicted, all right? Not just alleged or whatever. This is not a he said, she said case. This is witnesses. He's pled guilty, he's been convicted. So it's unquestionable that he was guilty of these violent acts against a few individuals. And he's been given a 3-year prison sentence. I'm not sure if that'll be served at home or in a prison. Let's talk about it. Mario Cipollini, very, very famous cyclist. Just even a few, maybe 2 months ago, he was in Natasha's DMs saying, "Hello, Natasha, you're a gorgeous girl, blah, blah, blah," as the guys do. Natasha's like, "Do you know a guy called Mario Cipollini?" And I said, "Show me." She showed me the team. So I said, have a chat with him, And so talking about Cannondales and stuff. But yeah, so that's, it's interesting. Big fuck up, man. A big fuck up. One, violence against people in that situation is just wrong, all right? The ramifications of his brand, this is going to be disastrous. This is, in my opinion, going to spell the end for the Cipollini brand, which is unfortunate for the workers, you know, in the factory in China, the workers in the factory in Italy who paint the bikes, put them together. It's going to be disastrous. There's no real winners here, except for the lawyers, basically. So where do you even go with this one? Where do you even go with this? People were like, was it the roid rage or was it that? I said, yeah, roid rage, yeah, nah. Like, when you're on steroids, I've used anabolic steroids. Like, I know exactly what it feels like. Various compounds, from test to tren, you know, D-bol to anadrol to winstrol to oxandrolone, you know, been there, done that. If you don't get enough sugar when you're on steroids, you know, the everyday person, the everyday woman, if she's on a period and doesn't get enough sugar, she goes freaking violent and crazy most times. So if you have a man who's on steroids, very, very high levels of testosterone, and he might even be crushing his estrogen level to appear more ripped, because if your estrogen goes up to a certain level, it's fantastic for anabolic effects, but it can make you more watery. Right? So if you're going for a really dry look, you'll be taking things like Arimidex, letrozole, etc. Things that I've never taken, because to me I'm like, why would I want to feel shit on steroids? That would be really sucky, you know? I'd rather have a bit more extra fluid than be extra dry and feel like shit and have a bad mood and be ragey. So often where this roid rage comes from isn't the steroids themselves, but the ancillary drugs, the estrogen blockers, letrozole, Arimidex, you know, things like that, Clomid even, and that can cause reduction of estrogen, which can cause really bad mood swings, okay? And combine that with lack of sugar intake, and you're an endurance athlete or a strength athlete, and then you're gonna be raging. But it's not from the steroids, it's from the ancillary drugs and or the lack of sugar. And people are like, "Oh, no, that's not true." You've never even taken steroids, dude. Right? You wouldn't even understand what it feels like to have testosterone 4 times higher than the average 18-year-old. I know exactly what that feels like, okay? I've been 18 as a natty, and I've been 40 as a not natty, etc. So I know exactly what it feels like. So you need to make sure you're on top of your sugar if you're gonna be if you've got high testosterone levels, you really need to be on top of your sugar. If your estrogen levels are higher or lower, you really need to be on top of your estrogen. You really need to be on top of your sugar, so your estrogen and your cortisol and your testosterone become in a bit of a balance, a harmonious balance. Because if they're not, you'll be doing some stupid shit, okay? And there'll be victims, and you'll be a victim too. So that's, just reading the forums, you know, Cipollini, roid rage, it's like, if you're a douchebag, you'll be a bigger douchebag on steroids, okay? If you can't handle yourself as a natty, you won't handle yourself on steroids. If you can't handle yourself, you know, it's just disastrous. Like, if you're a hothead, never restrict your sugar. Never touch steroids, okay? Because these things can amplify things. But it's not the steroid's fault, it's always the user's fault, okay? And generally people use steroids very vanity focused versus performance focused. And if you're vanity focused, that means you're gonna have shitty moods, because you're going to be chasing this unrealistic standard of dryness, which can just crash your mood and make you a really short fused temper, okay? Plus, if you're Italian, Italians should never use steroids, mate. You know, like, all the fucking, you know, this is the funny part, man. Whenever I have some shit with people in the street, it's always fucking Italians, you know what I mean? I laugh about it, it's always Italians. They attack you from behind, or they attack you in a group. Well, I don't know how that works, but For me, this is how it is, and I laugh about it. I got nothing wrong with Italians, but you know, all this. I've only ever had rumbles on the street with Italians, and it's either from behind, they attack you from behind, or they attack you in a group. It's just like, I don't know, I'm not sure what's going on in Italy. So that's been my experience. So, but yeah, just, you know, so yeah, Cipollini's big fuck up, and you know, I would say instead of sending him to prison, I would say just make him pay a financial compensation to the victims of his sugar deficient states. Okay, I think that's going to be a better win, because let's be honest, the prison system, people going to prison, who benefits from that? The people who own the prisons. All right, let's take that money and give it to the victims of the crimes that have been done, instead of pay the prisons more money for this bullshit. That's what I think should happen. Okay, like that's what I think should happen. Why should the prison system make it cost about like how many euros does it cost to put someone in prison for a year? Let's put that money into the pockets of the victims of the crimes. All right? And then we'll start to see some changes going on there. Who knows? But anyway, that's just about a rant and rave. Off the top, no jump cuts, no script. Big mistake. He fucked up, and it's going to be disastrous for his brand. It's 2022. You can be cancelled just like that, especially if you're a celebrity. All right? And especially if you've got this level of evidence against you, you've got no comeback for that. Just it's done.